At 35,000 feet in the air, there's nowhere to walk away, no quiet corner, no office door to shut, no HR department to hide behind. Just narrow aisles, recycled air, and dozens of witnesses. And on this flight, one loud mistake would cost someone their entire career in just 3 minutes. The plane hums with the sound of passengers settling in. Overhead bins slam shut. A flight attendant smiles mechanically as she helps an elderly couple find their seats. Most people board a plane thinking about snacks, legroom, or how long the flight will feel. No one expects a public meltdown. No one expects justice to arrive before takeoff. Marcus Reed, early 30s, sits by the window, welldressed.com, earbuds in, eyes closed, is the kind of guy who looks like he belongs anywhere but has learned not everyone agrees. Next to him is an empty middle seat. Across the aisle, Karen Whitfield, late 40s, stands with her purse on her shoulder, jaw tight, eyes scanning the row. She stops, stares at Marcus. Her smile disappears. Karen, voice sharp, excuse me. Marcus opens his eyes, removes one earbud. Marcus, yes. Karen points at the middle seat. Karen, you need to move. Marcus, diffused. I'm sorry. Karen, this is my ROI, paid extra. I'm not sitting next to. She gestures vaguely at Marcus, not even trying to hide her disgust. Passages nearby glance over. Marcus stays calm. Marcus, ma'am, I think that's seat 14B. I'm in 14A. Karen scoffs. Karen, I don't care what letter you are. I want that seat. This wasn't about a seat. It never was. A nearby flight attendant number 1, Lena, mid-20s, approaches. Lena, is everything okay here? Karen turns instantly. Sweet, Karen. No, it's not. He's refusing to move. Marcus, I'm just sitting in my assigned seat. Lena checks the boarding passes. Lena, he's correct, ma'am. Karen's face hardens. Karen, unbelievable. Are you seriously siding with him? Lena hesitates. Lena, I'm just following policy. Karen's voice rises. Karen, this is ridiculous. I paid good money for this flight. More passengers are watching now. Phones subtly come out. From the front of the cabin emerges Diane Hawkins, late 40s, the lead flight attendant, confident posture, corporate, smart. She's used to handling difficult passengers. Or so she thinks. Diane, what seems to be the issue? Karen points at Marcus like he's evidence. Karen, he's making me uncomfortable. I want him move. Marcus looks up. Marcus, I haven't said anything inappropriate. I haven't touched her. I'm just sitting here. Diane studies Marcus briefly, then turns to Karen. Diane? Ma'am? He's in his assigned seat. Karen leans closer to Diane and lowers her voice, but not enough. Karen. People like him always cause problems. The cabin goes quiet. Diane freezes. That sentence changed everything. Instead of correcting Karen, Diane sighs. Diane. Sir, would you mind switching seats to keep the peace? Marcus blinks. So I'm being asked to move because she's uncomfortable. Diane, we're just trying to make everyone happy. Marcus looks around. Dozens of eyes. Amanda rows back, shakes his head. A woman whispers, that's not right. And Marcus takes a breath. Marcus, no. I paid for this seat. I followed every rule. Karen smirks. Karen, see. Aggressive. That's when Marcus calmly reaches into his pocket. Marcus holds up his phone. Marcus, that's fine. I've already recorded everything. Diane stiffens. Karen laughs nervously. Karen, oh please. Who do you think you are? Marcus looks directly at Diane. Marcus, I'm a corporate compliance consultant. Diane's smile cracks. Marcus, and I recognize you. Diane's eyes widen. Diane, what? In 3 minutes, the power dynamic flipped completely. Marcus, I conducted a workplace bias training seminar for this airline 6 months ago. Karen's smile fades. Diane's face drains of color. Marcus, and you were there. Diane swallows. Diane, I don't. Marcus scrolls on his phone. Marcus, you signed an acknowledgement stating discriminatory behavior would result in immediate termination. Silence. A passenger audibly whispers, oh no! Diane straightens, trying to regain control. Diane, sir, this is not the time. Marcus, actually, it is. He taps his screen. Marcus, because I also CC'd your regional director and HR. Karen's eyes dart between them. Karen, wait, what? Marcus, this flight has Wi-Fi. He presses send. Diane's career ended before the safety demonstration. Diane's phone vibrates. She looks down, her hands tremble. Diane quietly, "Excuse me." She steps into the galley. 30 seconds pass, then 60. When she returns, her face is pale. "Diane." "Sir, may I speak with you privately?" Marcus stands. Karen's confidence crumbles. Minutes later, Diane addresses the cabin. "Diane, due to a personnel issue, I will no longer be serving as lead on this flight." Puffs ripple through the plane. She avoids eye contact as she walks away. Karen turns to Marcus. "Karen, this is insane. You did this." Marcus meets her gaze. "Marcus knows you did." Another flight attendant approaches Marcus. "Lena said we'd like to offer you a complimentary upgrade." Marcus smiles politely. "Marcus, thank you, but I'm comfortable right here." Karen stares ahead, silent now. Small, powerless. 3 minutes. That's all it took. Not because someone spoke louder, not because someone demanded respect, but because the truth was documented, because rules apply to everyone, and because sometimes the person you think has no power is the one who holds all of it. The plane eventually pushed back from the gate, the engines humming louder as the cabin settled into an uneasy quiet. People pretended to scroll through their phones or stare out the windows, but the tension lingered like static in the air. Marcus sat back in his seat, earbuds still out, hands folded calmly in his lap. His heart rate had slowed, but the adrenaline hadn't fully left his system yet. Karen sat rigid beside him, arms crossed so tightly it looked painful. She hadn't said a word since Diane walked off the plane with a supervisor waiting at the jet bridge. Every few seconds, Karen's jaw clenched, as if she were replaying the moment over and over, trying to rewrite the ending in her favor. A man across the aisle leaned forward slightly. "Hey," he said quietly to Marcus, careful not to draw attention. "You handled that really well." Marcus gave a small nod. "Thank you. You shouldn't have had to," the man added. Marcus met his eyes. "No, but here we are." The seatbelt sign dinged on, and the captain's voice filled the cabin with a practiced calm, apologizing for the delay and thanking everyone for their patience. Not a word was said about what had happened, but everyone knew. Some stories don't need an announcement. As the plane lifted into the sky, Karen finally spoke again, her voice low and brittle. "You didn't have to destroy her life." Marcus turned his head slightly, not aggressive, not dismissive. "I didn't," he said. "I documented behavior. What happened after that wasn't my choice." Karen scoffed softly. "People make mistakes." "They do," Marcus replied. "But some mistakes are patterns." Karen opened her mouth, then closed it again. She looked out the window, blinking rapidly. Minutes passed. The plane leveled off. Drink carts rolled down the aisle. Lena stopped at their row. "Can I get you anything to drink?" she asked Marcus. "Water's fine," he said. She turned to Karen. "Nothing," Karen snapped. Lena paused, then nodded, and moved on. Marcus stared at the seat back in front of him, thoughts drifting. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. It probably wouldn't be the last. What was different was the outcome. Usually, the burden of keeping the peace fell on people like him. Move seats. Lower your voice. Be understanding. Don't make it a big deal. This time, he hadn't. A woman a few rows back leaned into the aisle and spoke just loudly enough to be heard. "I'm glad someone finally said no." Several passengers murmured in agreement. Karen sank lower in her seat. Later, as the cabin lights dimmed slightly, Karen turned again, her tone no longer sharp but defensive, almost pleading. "You don't know what she's been through," she said. "Diane, she's been with this airline for years." Marcus kept his voice even. "Then she knew the policies better than anyone." Karen shook her head. "You people always act like everything is so simple." Marcus looked at her fully now. "You people," he repeated. Karen stiffened, realizing too late. "I didn't mean." "Yes, you did," Marcus said quietly. "And that's the problem." Silence stretched between them. After a moment, Karen's shoulders sagged. "I was just tired," she muttered. "Long day, bad week." "I believe you," Marcus said. "But being tired doesn't give anyone permission to dehumanize someone else." Karen didn't respond. The rest of the flight passed more smoothly than anyone expected. Some passengers slept. Others watched movies. A few stole glances toward Marcus's curiosity mixing with respect. One teenager even gave him a subtle thumbs up as he walked past to the restroom. When the plane began its descent, the mood had shifted. The earlier tension had been replaced with something quieter, reflective, a kind of silence that comes after a lesson sinks in. As the wheels hit the runway and the plane taxied to the gate, the seatbelt sign remained on, but people were already reaching for their bags. Eager to stand, eager to move forward. Karen stood without looking at Marcus. Before stepping into the aisle, she paused. "I still think you went too far," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. Marcus stood as well, towering just enough to remind her of her earlier assumptions. "And I think you're used to people backing down," he replied. "We're both entitled to our opinions." Karen hesitated, then said something unexpected. "I didn't think you'd fight back." Marcus held her gaze. "That's what you need to sit with." She nodded once sharply, then turned and walked away. Lena approached Marcus one last time as passengers disembarked. "Sir," she said softly, "I just wanted to say thank you." "For what?" Marcus asked. "For not yelling," she said. "For staying calm. For making it clear, without becoming what they expected you to be." Marcus smiled, tired but sincere. "That's the hardest part sometimes." As he stepped off the plane and into the terminal, his phone buzzed. A new email, subject line, "Immediate follow-up incident report acknowledged." He didn't open it right away. Instead, he paused near the window overlooking the runway, watching planes come and go. So many people, so many stories intersecting for a few hours before separating again. Justice didn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it was quiet, sometimes it was uncomfortable. Sometimes it meant standing still when the world expected you to move. Marcus adjusted his jacket and headed toward baggage claim, blending back into the crowd. But for everyone on that flight, the memory lingered. Not of shouting, not of chaos, but of a moment when someone refused to shrink and everything changed because of it. As Marcus waited at baggage claim, the familiar carousel rattled to life, suitcases thumping onto the belt one by one. He stood slightly off to the side, hands in his pockets, observing. Travel always put people in strange states, rushed, irritable, entitled, vulnerable. Today had been no different. A woman from the flight, maybe in her early 30s, approached him hesitantly. "Excuse me," she said. "I hope this isn't weird, but I wanted to say something." Marcus turned, giving her his full attention. "Shirma-san was on that flight," she said, gesturing to a teenage boy pretending not to listen a few steps away. "He saw everything, and I think he learned something important today." Marcus smiled gently. "I'm glad," she nodded. "About dignity, and about not letting people push you around just because they're louder." "That means a lot," Marcus said. "Thank you for telling me." The boy glanced over, met Marcus's eyes, and nodded once. Marcus returned the nod. No words were needed. A few minutes later, Marcus spotted his suitcase and lifted it off the belt. As he turned away, he nearly collided with Karen. They froze. The AirPod noise swallowed the moment, but the tension was unmistakable. Karen looked different now, smaller somehow, less rigid. "I didn't expect to see you again," she said. "Airports have a way of doing that," Marcus replied. She shifted her bag on her shoulder. "I keep thinking about what you said, about patterns." Marcus waited. "I don't think I'm a bad person," she said, more to herself than to him. "I didn't say you were," Marcus answered. "But good people still have blind spots." Karen exhaled slowly. "I guess I never thought I had any." "That's usually how it starts," Marcus said, not unkindly. She hesitated, then said, "I'm sorry. For what it's worth." Marcus studied her face. The apology wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished, but it was real enough. "I accept," he said. Karen nodded, eyes briefly shining, then turned and walked toward the exit without another word. Marcus watched her go, then headed in the opposite direction. Later that evening, settled into his hotel room, Marcus finally opened the email. It was brief, formal, thanking him for the documentation, confirming immediate action had been taken, assuring him the airline would be conducting additional training. He closed his laptop. He knew better than to believe one incident fixed everything. Systems didn't change overnight. Neither did people. But moments mattered. Witnesses mattered. Refusing to cooperate with injustice mattered. He thought back to Diane's face when the realization hit not anger, not fear, but shock, the shock of consequences. of discovering that authority didn't mean immunity. Marcus laid back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, someone else would be asked to keep the peace. Someone else would be expected to move, to shrink, to absorb discomfort that wasn't theirs to carry. But maybe, just maybe, someone from that flight would remember today. Remember the silence after the words were spoken. Remember that rules only matter when they're enforced. And remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay exactly where you are. Outside, a plane roared into the night sky, lights blinking as it disappeared into the dark. Another flight, another set of strangers, another chance for the story to unfold differently. Marcus closed his eyes, knowing that this time, at least, it had